Here's NoCo's latest template. It's called Not OF. And basically, it's a double-sided marketplace. So on the one hand, you have creators. They can post content. On the other side, you have subscribers. They can, of course, subscribe to that content. What's cool about this, and let's just scroll through this landing page right here. These are the featured creators. We'll go into like there's a whole system behind this, right? How do these appear? Who can sign up for these, etc. But let's just go through the rest of this landing page. It's simple, but it's pretty. I think it works. And yeah, I'm quite happy with how this came out. So let's actually view a profile. We have, of course, just some like random text in here, but look at this nice hover animation. And we can see the image here, subscribe for $100 a month. I'll show you how that $100 came to be. Of course, when you're thinking about if you want to use this template for something, you're obviously not going to go, or maybe you will, but there's plenty of other cases outside of OF that require this kind of double-sided marketplace where you might want to have a group of people that are content creators in a particular vertical or niche and content subscribers. And so that's what this template is really about. So up here, we're looking at the number of subscribers, their number of posts. You can subscribe for $100 a month. And then down here, this is the first post. So here's an embed of our landing page. You could do images, videos, or embeddable links. Like we'll show a YouTube a YouTube example as well. This one's public, so you can have different types of posts. The creators they can be public or private, and so they can be just for like marketing purposes, right? This is very common. People will release like one thing a week for the free version and then have like 5 things a week for the paid version, for example. So let's go ahead and subscribe and see what that process looks like. So again, you are the marketplace. So you can figure out with Stripe if you want to take a percentage of each transaction or however you want to do that. That's totally up to you. What code is created is the ability for creators, which we'll look at in a moment, to connect their business account, and for subscribers to pay those creators, where you're the middleman and you take a fee. This is how Airbnb works and a lot of double-sided marketplaces. But let's just check out here if I remember a Stripe test card correctly and show you what that looks like. So the one thing that you'll have to configure is a Stripe webhook. So when the user subscribes, you will want to make sure that that webhook is in place, and that will allow you to get this instant subscriber, this person subscribed right away. And so now we can see more posts. So here I just have a random YouTube embed, a link post, and here was our public post. And then another post that's like a private, just kind of image post. And so that's sort of the process, right? Creators can create content, subscribers can subscribe to content, all of the billing's already created, authentication is already created. So you can really just kind of come in and tailor this to whatever vertical you want to apply it to, and it's ready to go. So now that I've subscribed to the user, I can also go to my dashboard. I could view one or many of my different subscriptions, right? Let's say I'm subscribed to 10 different content creators. I could go through and cancel my subscription from here too. Again, another decision that you might want to make is you actually can't cancel your subscriptions here for whatever types of reasons. Anyways, but at least the feature is there and you could disable it if you wanted to. So now let's take a look at the creator side. The creator side has you log in and you select that you want to be a creator. And you might want to insert some of your own custom logic to say not everyone can sign up to be a creator. You have to apply, whatever you want to do there. But this dashboard has total subscribers, some light page views. So it's kind of nice to have a little bit of analytics for people to just kind of like see the growth, right? Because if people are really using this thing, they're going to be driving traffic to it and they want to see how well their stuff is doing. Monthly performance. So here's like revenue and new subscribers, just some light information on how well they're doing. And here's how you create a new post. You can drag and drop images here, or you could do the embed link. The visibility is for subscribers only, public, visible to everyone, or only visible to you, and you could have a draft status as well. So a typical kind of like almost blog-esque format, but with the marketplace and of course the Stripe Connect on both sides of this equation. So that's it. That's really the dashboard. You can see visibility here. And if I go over to content, just kind of another view. So like this is your view of everything in a timeline order. most recent, you could refresh, you could create a new post, and here's your list of subscribers. So again, more and more people are really interested in kind of owning their own subscriber base. And at least with something like this, you could convince your creators that, like, yes, in fact, you can see your own subscribers' emails and stuff like that, and you can email them separately. That's a really nice thing to allow content creators to do. Or you might decide actually that's where there's a ton of value for you, and you may want to hide exactly who the subscribers are. However you want to deal with your marketplace or set up your marketplace, you're welcome to, of course, do that. The navigation bar moves like this, just showing you some of the stuff that's already kind of built out. And let's go into the settings page. So I've already done this, but this is where you would click connect. You have to enter in 400 fields from Stripe, and they will then approve you, right? This is of course just a test account, but if this was a real account, this is kind of the same fields. You would click confirm. They get redirected back to your marketplace, and then they would be able to, at that point, insert what price. So we had a $100 subscriber from the subscriber side. That is because this creator put that price in here. You can also have people change their accent color and stuff like that. So if we wanted to do, let's say, electric green with the primary color, we'll just make this obnoxious for demo purposes. And let's do a background pattern with grid. If I refresh this will be their, really obnoxious, obviously. Well, to each their own. Maybe somebody likes that. Anyways, you can customize, or you can let your creators customize their performance. They have an about section too, custom slug, so they can have their own kind of custom URL up here. And of course, the profile image, they could upload that. And I could rename myself if I wanted to, and that would just automatically show up here. All right, that is a pretty obnoxious color palette. All right, there we go. So that's it. That is what the not-OF template is all about. And the core of this double-sided marketplace is completed for you. So again, it's got authentication, it's got billing done in a marketplace way, such that you as the marketplace can take a percentage of the transactions that flow through your system. We have the creator side, and we have the subscriber side. I thought it would also be worthwhile to go through the code. So let's go through some of the READMEs. There are 3. There's one in each folder and kind of a main one. So in the main one, let's go up to the top. Here's how you install your dependencies, npm install and npm run dev in both of them. Don't forget your environment variables. Each folder has a .env.example, which will show you the variables that you need: S3, database, Stripe, JWT secret, front-end URL, etc. So nothing super fancy here. It's a duplicate. I'll fix that. But that's how you get started. So localhost 3000 is the front end, 3001 is the back end. So we've got passwordless auth, kind of a CMS system, role-based access control, Stripe integration, and this is the stack. So if you like this stack, I think you'll like this setup. It's quite simple. On the front end, we have shadcn. So our components are these Radix UI ones are in the source components UI. So anytime you want to install one of those, this is where kind of the theme will be applied to, and full theming. So if you want to go into any of the Tailwind configs or Vite configs in here, yeah, this thing supports like a full theme. So if you want to change any of the colors for dark mode or base, this is where you would do it, and it will apply everywhere, which is quite nice. So back to the README. Authentication, users request a magic link. Billing and payout. So we do have Stripe integration, but it's Stripe Connect again. So you're the marketplace, you're in the middle. So this is already built for you. Your creators can just log in with Stripe, and given that your account is set up right in Stripe, which is not something I can do in this code base for you, then this should work. You'll just pop in your keys and it's kind of ready to go. The very first user becomes a super admin. Additional roles are admin, creator, and subscriber. So most people are just creator or subscriber. That's it. Going down into, so we've got Docker files in here, pretty good docs on how to build the Docker containers, and Docker files themselves are provided for you if you want to use Docker. If not, no worries. Heroku or something like that, I'll build this Vite thing, no problem, not a big deal. It's a pretty fast build. So let's go into, let's say, the front end first, or next, and look at the README here. Here's basic project structure. Again, one really lovely thing about all this AI is the ability to send in something like this or just point it towards this code base and have it explain it to you. So these readmes are verbose enough such that a cursor can pick up on how things are being done and explain them back to you if you have any questions. That's also a great way to learn about the code base. We're using Vite and we're using the Pages plugin. So we have file-based routing, which I strongly prefer. I just think it's a nice development environment. It's like, where does the page go? Right here in the Pages folder. I don't have to really deal with routing. I think that that's really nice. So we already talked a little bit about the components. Quick start, npm run dev for development, npm run build for production, and the dev server, runs on port 3000. So this will run you through kind of the key components, features, and how stuff is built, adding protected routes, mostly done in the user context. We can look at that code here. So if I go into context and I go to user context, there's basically a loading and a user. So initially loading is true. And then once we actually call our API endpoint and see if there's a user or not, loading is false. So we're done loading and we either have a user or we don't. So when I go into my dashboard and I use this use auth, I can say if we're not loading, like loading is complete and there's not a user, we know for sure we can reroute to the /auth page because they are unauthenticated. Therefore, they should not see this page. Therefore, we should reroute them. The same is true in content. So we'll have some of that same logic on several of these pages: dashboard, settings, subscribers. And this is the auth page where people go to log in. And there's a logout page as well, and verify endpoints. This is when they click the magic link. This is where they get routed to, and we call the backend with the credential, the token that is provided in the URL, validate that that is true. We'll get back at JWT, and we're off to the races. So diving into the backend a little bit, and well, I guess in the front end too, if you want to see the rest of this. So components folder, that's where most of this stuff is. Context and hooks, mostly the user context. And then there's just like a utility file in here. We have pages-based routing, so that's this pages, and that's really it. It's honestly, it's quite simple, pretty fast as well. So going into the back end, everything's in source. So we have connections, which is S3 and SQL. SQL is actually using SQLi. So this is set up to run Postgres, but you would not have to make very many modifications, if any, to use MySQL, SQLite, etc. So those are where your connections sit, and here are all your controllers. So here, for instance, is the magic link logic to be able to use resend to send the verified token and create it and save it in the database, where we then will look it up when we go to when it gets passed to us later. And yeah, pretty basic stuff. So all of the logic is in the controller. And then here are our database models. These are how each of these are defined: org, post, post media. The taxonomy is high level. There's an org, and then every user belongs to an org. And then this is our join table, our subscription model. So this is not necessarily, I mean, part of it is the Stripe subscription, but this is like the subscribers, which of the creators they are subscribed to. We need some kind of record, which also has Stripe in it, but we look that up on our end and save that and persist that in our database too. Profile model, not a big deal. Post model, so this is the actual content. You would probably extend this, whatever you're doing, if it's something like sort of like OnlyFans, but not quite, right? This is probably the data models that you would be adjusting to accommodate the use case that you have in mind. Here's our routes file. It's a single routes file, nothing fancy here. These are public routes, and then anything after this auth middleware, these are private routes. And this auth middleware itself grabs the JWT and verifies it, and we get a decoded user, and then we return next. So we put that on request user, and so we can always use request user ID, request user role, or request user org ID to do any kind of security checks we need to. For instance, if I'm getting in the controller, let's do like the content, and let's get the posts, or let's create a post. So if I create a post, obviously, I need to be a creator myself. And here we can reference the org ID and the user ID right here. Get posts, for instance, if I am the actual creator, then I can do more things than somebody that is just the viewer, the consumer of the content, right? So for instance, deleting a post or updating a post. And so that's kind of it on the controller side. I think we went through the models sufficiently. These are the routes, the route file, single route file, very simple. It's a small app. We went through this authentication middleware, and this index file is just starting up the server. So again, it's small, it's tight, it's well documented. And I think that you'll have, if you have a use case in mind for this, this template should save you, I don't know, between 10, 20, 30 hours of, even if you are vibe coding, it just takes a while to get all this stuff locked in. So that's really the value prop, time savings. Just wanted to show you kind of under the hood, the actual code base, file storage. So we obviously are not going to provide an S3 bucket for you. My personal favorite is to use a company called Wasabi. They are like 10 times cheaper than S3 and works great. So this is set up to use Wasabi or AWS, no problem. npm run dev will run nodemon, so anytime you make changes or cursor makes changes, it'll auto update. So local development is really easy. Project structure, database schemas, we talked about that. The auth system and endpoints, we talked about this as well. It is a multi-tenant system so that users can only get the stuff attached to their org ID or modify the stuff attached to their org ID. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out on Discord or on the support chat, and I look forward to seeing what you build.